Hey all, this is Redditosker, and today we're going to be doing our first Zelda lore video. In this video I'm going to be arguing that the Triforce in Zelda games is not something Link finds, it's something that he creates. First though, I need to explain exactly what kind of argument I'm making. Because what I'm not saying is my theory is literally true within the canon of the game. The canon of the game is well established. And in that canon, the Golden Goddesses create the Triforce and give it to Hylia to safeguard. I'm not disputing that. I'm not making the claim that the established canon is wrong. What I'm arguing is that the Triforce in-game represents something that exists outside the game. And if you accept that, and then look at the events of Skyward Sword in context, you'll come to the conclusion that Link did not find the Triforce, he created it. In stories, objects, especially magical and sacred objects, often represent concepts in the real world. I believe that the Triforce is that. And what it represents is the human ability to achieve goals. It's the power to move the world the way you want it to move. Let's just look at the qualities of the Triforce. It consists of 3 pieces, and if those 3 pieces are brought together, it grants wishes. It's a wish-granting power. Zelda describes it as a supreme power created by the old gods that gave anyone who possessed it the ability to shape reality and fulfill any desire. Now the 3 pieces that the Triforce is made up of is the Triforce of Power, the Triforce of Wisdom, and the Triforce of Courage. Which raises the question, why those things specifically? Why power, wisdom, and courage? What do they have to do at all with fulfilling wishes? Well, if you accept the premise that the Triforce is a metaphor for the power to achieve goals, then it has everything to do with it. In reality, you need all 3 to shape the world to your liking and fulfill your desires. And being deficient in any one diminishes the effectiveness of all 3. You might have the wisdom to know how to achieve your goals, and the courage to act in that direction, but that all goes to waste without the power to do so. If you have power and wisdom, but are lacking courage, then you'll be too cowardly to seize the moments that are important. The fear of failure will cause you to let opportunities slip by. And if wisdom is what you're lacking, then you might have the power to act and the courage to do so. But your actions will often be mistakes. Your strength will be inefficient and misused. Not having one of these essential qualities will hamper your ability to fulfill your goals. And this has an in-game representation in Ocarina of Time. Sheik tells us that if one's heart is not in balance, the Triforce will separate into 3 parts. Only one part will remain for the one who touched the Triforce, the part representing the force that person most believes in. If that one seeks the true Triforce, then he must acquire the last 2 parts, which will be held by those chosen by destiny. So, effectively, if you are deficient in power, wisdom, or courage, your ability to have your wishes granted will be hindered, and you will not be able to fulfill your desires until you acquire the elements of the Triforce that you do not have. Now you might be saying to yourself, in Skyward Sword, the Triforce was in Skyloft. We saw Link have to go there and get it. And what I say back to that is, did we though? Did we really see that? Consider what we saw exactly. When Link finally goes to get the Triforce, he enters these small rooms, and in these rooms, he kneels down, is transported into another small room where that piece of the Triforce is just floating there. And when he acquires it, he's transported back out of that room, where you see that he's still kneeling in the same position he was before. Now it's not stated in-game, but the rooms that the Triforce is housed in are the Silent Realm. In the game, the Silent Realm is described as a spiritual realm, a realm that can only be entered by the goddess's chosen hero. Fi describes it as a domain of the spirit. The Silent Realm is not like other realms. It's not like the Sacred Realm, it's not like the Twilight Realm. It's not a real place. It's an inner world that exists only inside Link's mind. Fi can't join you because the trial calls out to your mind alone. The Spirit Vessel is a representation of Link's spirit, and by filling it with sacred tears, it acts as proof of Link's spiritual growth. The Silent Realm is a kind of meditation state for Link. Fi tells us that Link's spirit has temporarily separated from his physical body so that he can undertake this trial, and that she will wait in the outside world, further confirming that this is an inner world. It's a world inside. And it's not a shared spiritual world. It's not a world that everybody's consciousness can go into. It's a world that only Link can go into. A spiritual world that only one person can go into is just your mind. It's your psyche. So just keep that in mind while I keep piling on some more interesting pieces of evidence. The whole point of Skyward Sword is that Hylia, in order to fight off Demise, manipulated events so that Link would become a hero. Hylia has time powers. She's associated with time, her relics are associated with time, the Ocarina of Time, the Door of Time. There are many Zeldas that have the power of prophecy built into them. And there are points in the game where she talks to Link directly through Fi. In these conversations, she says that she speaks to him at her place beyond time. But at those moments, Hylia is already incarnated into Zelda, and often doesn't have her memories yet, so Hylia doesn't even know she's Hylia at the moment. So what these are pre-recorded messages that she leaves there, so that Link finds them and is guided to her next thing she wants him to do. So with her prophecy and future-seeing powers, she had temples built and puzzles created and shrines made, specifically so that Link would have to go through these temples and dungeons and monsters and traps, so that those experiences would turn him into her chosen hero. She created an artificial hero's journey just for Link. And she motivates him to do that by incarnating into the girl he likes, so that he's forced to chase her around the surface and go into all these temples and do all these things she wants him to do, to strengthen him. That's not even interpretation, that's canonically what happens. She admits that. And the reason for this is so that he can get the Triforce. The entire journey is set up so that he acquires the qualities of the Triforce, so that he gets power, so that he gets wisdom, so that he gets courage. And by having those qualities, he can get the Triforce. Those are her exact words. So in other words, Link obtains the Triforce by developing its elements inside himself. Zelda also says that the gods made it so that only mortals could use the Triforce, not gods. And that's because the Triforce is not just an object, it's an object that represents human qualities. It's literally made up of human power, human courage, and human wisdom. It's the force you can exert over the world when you possess those three things. Let's talk about the Sacred Flames now. In the second half of the game, Link needs to get Sacred Flames from 3 locations, 3 dungeons, so that he further tempers and purifies his spirit. When he acquires each new Sacred Flame, a new symbol of the Triforce appears on his hand. In-game, there's not much that's said about the Sacred Flames, but the Hyrule Historia lets us know that they're manifestations of the Force. It then further describes the Force as the sacred power the gods gave to the world. It's the breath of life itself. So, this Force is the sacred power given to all living things by the goddesses. Collecting the Sacred Flames imbues yourself and your sword with this Force, and by collecting it, you obtain the symbol of the Triforce on your hand, as if you had the Triforce already. And that's because you do have the Triforce already, because everything has the Triforce already. And these dungeons and bosses and trials only were there to develop the qualities that Link already has. That's why at the very end of the journey, when you finally go and actually get the Triforce, it's in the Silent Realm. It's in an inner world. You have to do one last meditation to realize the Triforce is inside of you. There's no big dungeon, there's no fanfare. All the work has been done already. According to Zelda, Link would not have been able to wield the Triforce had he not gone on his hero's journey. She's probably also referencing the lore from Ocarina of Time that if your heart is not balanced, you can't get the Triforce, and the pieces would go to their chosen bearers, which would end up with Demise having a piece of the Triforce. But also thematically, metaphorically, I think Link can't get the Triforce. She can't give it to him. He can't go into the little Skyloft puzzle to get it, because he doesn't have it. When he went to the Spirit Realm, it just wouldn't be there. The Triforce is inside Link all along, and it just needs to be developed. Just as a further piece of evidence, in the Silent Realms, the inner spiritual world, If you look at the waking water at the right angle, you'll see the Triforce quite clearly. And that is because the Triforce, like the Silent Realm, is inside you. And that is the end of this video. As always, thank you very much for watching.